Welcome back, my gentle people. This is Corner Stories with your daily serving of relationship stories. Today we have two stories and both stories comes with an update. So let's get into it. AITA for kicking my wife out after she punched my mom in the face? My situation went from bad to worse in a matter of a week and I don't know where else to turn. I need to know if I was wrong. Possibly a validation thing because life is dumb right now. My wife and I have been together for 8 years and she just gave birth to our first, and last, baby 2 months ago. Up until my wife got pregnant, my mom loved her. I'm not sure WTF is wrong with my mom or why the switch happened, but after my wife got pregnant, my mom started being very clingy to me and started avoiding my wife at all costs. Told everyone she wasn't excited about the pregnancy, etc. I threatened to go no contact with her when my wife was about 7 months along, and after that she snapped out of it for the most part and stopped being so ignorant. The comments 100% stopped, at least. Though she still was clinging to me. Now, a week ago my mom, my sister's husband and my sister's daughter, 12, came over for dinner. I prepared the meal. Before my wife could eat anything, our daughter got fussy, so my wife excused herself to go feed the baby and get her down to sleep. I thought I prepared enough, but apparently not, because my niece was still starving. She's 5 feet 5 inches and 190 pounds. I haven't seen her in a year and she was not that size then, so I didn't exactly portion in an extra 3 helpings for a child, so it's on me. I apologized and told her that I hadn't made any more and offered her crackers, as I was putting my wife's portion in the fridge. After that, I just went outside with my sister's husband to smoke a cigarette and shoot the breeze. Didn't think anything of it. But then I hear yelling from inside. When I walk in, my wife and my mom were screaming at each other. Apparently my mom, who saw me put my wife's food away, gave my niece my wife's portion of food. As I was walking inside, I heard my mom say, "Looks like you can afford to skip a meal," and slapped my wife's stomach. Right as soon as I get ready to step in, literally fast walking toward them yelling, "Enough," my wife wins back and punches my mother square in the face and drops her. The whole house went silent outside of my mom crying and holding her face. I tell everyone to get the hell out. Immediately everyone leaves and my wife just turns toward the counter and leans with her hands on the counter and face down, eyes closed. I look at my wife and say, "You two, leave, now." She says, "Really?" She's crying at this point. I say a clipped, "Yup." She packs up her and the baby and leaves. I text her that night and say I just need space. I need to decompress and come to terms with what just happened. She doesn't respond. The next 5 days I'm texting and calling and I get nothing. She shows up here today, so 8 days later, and hands me divorce paperwork and my baby and says, "Here, you have a bit to hang out with her while I pack. Where I'm breastfeeding we can work out a visitation schedule that is either at your place or my mother's until she will take a bottle." I told her that's not what I want. I don't want to separate. I just needed time to process her punching my mother in the face. She said, "You needing time to process gave me time to process the fact that I refuse to be in this situation any longer." I defended myself. "I initially felt bad and remorseful, but you making me leave when I needed you made me see more clear. I'm done. I'm sorry for what I did, but there's no fixing this." She refused to speak to me at all the rest of the time that she was here. My house feels so empty and I don't know what to do. AITA for making her leave after she punched my mom? I just needed some fucking space. ETA, for the record, I am team wife. My mom deserved it, wholeheartedly, and I've blocked her completely from my life. I literally just needed time to process what happened. My wife is a lot of things, violent is not one of them. So this came completely out of left field and would not have happened without her being provoked. After it all happened, my mom sent me a text saying, "See? I told you she was crazy. That fat bitch doesn't belong in our life." I'm willing to bet she purposely tried setting my wife off. So no, I'm on my wife's side 100%. I truly just needed to process what happened and my wife took it as me giving up on her, not defending her and throwing her and our baby out, which did essentially happen because I knew she had to take the baby with her when I kicked her out. ETA, the reason why, my dad was stupid abusive. I was beat. My sisters and brother were beat. My mom was put in the hospital multiple times. It took years for police to enforce restraining orders and he finally died in 2013. Violence scares the fuck out of me. I clam up and get anxious around violence of any kind now. My wife knows this and she too grew up with a violent dad, stepdad, and she gets just as anxious and panicky around violence. Her punching my mom in the face triggered an anxious response and I needed her gone in that moment. I needed it far away from me. I don't know why I didn't just leave. I could have. But in that moment I just let my emotions and fear run the whole fucking circus and told everyone to get out, her included. My mom did slap her first. I guess for some reason I was seeing my wife's punch as being worse than the slap. It wasn't a hard slap but my wife did kind of wince, looking back on it now. She was fine following but my mom was bleeding. Split her eyebrow open in good shape. Before we get into the comments, I'm just going to add OP's wife response to this post, so that we have both sides of the story. My response to my husband's post, AITA for kicking my wife out after she punched my mom in the face? Advice needed. I'm still grieving at the loss of my marriage, but my friend had notified me about my husband's post that had too many specific details that were hard to ignore. To clarify, this is my first time on Reddit. I read my soon-to-be ex-husband's post and wanted to give my side of the story and include details that he didn't provide in his post. For those who hadn't read it, long story short, my husband kicked me out of the house after his mother had physically slapped my stomach in front of him and I punched her in self-defense. I loved my husband dearly but his lack of action regarding his mother's behavior was extremely disgusting to say the least. I tolerated his mom's behavior long enough until I couldn't take it anymore as he had overlooked his mom's behavior over and over again that finally I had enough. I was still recovering after giving birth to his child when his mom slapped my stomach, and my husband exaggerated when he said it wasn't a hard slap. The slap itself was hard enough to be heard by everyone in the room. I had lost it at this point when his mother slapped my stomach with a turd-eating smirk that wasn't visible from my husband's point of view, at least that's what my husband claimed. I had a mental breakdown when my husband told me to leave after kicking everyone out of the house. You should have seen his face when he told me to get out with a straight face and without hesitation. Our baby was crying at this point before I left, and I couldn't do anything but cry that night after I went to stay with my mother. His mother sent me a text mockingly saying, "I am going to file charges against you for assault, you fat little whore. Now stay the fuck out of our lives." She ended the text with a smiley face at the end. I was livid and decided I did not want to be associated with this family anymore and served my husband divorce papers, and as you can guess he didn't take it well and tried to get me to reconsider. I told him that he overlooked his mother's behavior one too many times, and I was done with him and his inability to establish boundaries with his mother. I recommended setting boundaries, but he didn't think it was necessary even after I told him throughout the pregnancy about the nasty names his mother called me when he wasn't around, and he always brushed it off. Even though he did tell his mom to stop, she would continue this behavior after a short pause for a while. Before I left after handing him divorce papers he begged me for another chance and told me he cut contact with his mother permanently. I told him that he is sorry now that I handed him divorce papers and that he was too late to act now that I decided I wanted out of the marriage. I told him I loved him so much that he should look at it as a sign that if I didn't then I would have divorced him long ago because he didn't stand up for me multiple times. And I let his mother's snarky comments and behavior slide at my mental expense. I told him he needed help with the trauma because I understand that he is dealing with trauma since he already mentioned my abusive stepdad, but he didn't even realize that his mother hadn't gotten him help for his trauma, that he is still being affected in his adulthood. What I can't understand is why he didn't leave if he needed some space instead of being such a heartless bastard and kicking our child out with me. I've been ignoring his texts and calls ever since, and I'm waiting for a divorce hearing. Something that I wanted to point out is that his mother had attributed to his niece's weight gain, since she lives with my husband's sister to save money. I, once again, told my husband about his niece's weight gain that it's concerning that she weighs 190 pounds at such a young age, and she was indeed not that weight before. On the day of the incident I was making the niece's second portion of food and then my husband's mother came towards me and snatched the plate out of my hands and said, "I'll do it myself, let me take care of it," and when I tried to take the plate back his mother said, "I know what to do, you don't know how to properly feed someone as healthy as my grandchild." I was shocked that she thinks that her grandchild's weight was normal for her age. I couldn't take this harassment or abuse any longer and my breaking point was reached when he kicked me and our child out of the house. Now I need to do what's right for our child because she doesn't need to be in a toxic household where she has to witness the drama going on. My soon-to-be ex-husband wants us to do marriage counseling, to which I have refused to do so because I am done with him. I'm starting to feel slightly guilty with his begging and gaslighting. I just want to be done with him. I've blocked him as recommended by my lawyer, but he keeps reaching out through his other family members and siblings. What should I do to make him go away until the divorce hearing? Relevant comments. So, to recap, you allowed your mommy to verbally abuse your pregnant wife for months, but still invited her into your wife's home. You stood there while your mother insulted and punched your wife in the abdomen where she's been growing your child for the past 9 months. Then when your provoked wife defended herself from your bag of garbage mother, you put your wife and child out of their home so you could process. Seriously, you put your wife and infant child out of their home instead of you leaving to pull yourself together and stop being a mama's boy. You showed your wife who you truly were that night. Less than. Not a real husband, not a real father, not a real man. How is she ever supposed to unsee that? Dude, you are a huge idiot. I read your husband's original post, he was very clearly the idiot. Your post only confirms this. As far as your question about getting him to leave you alone until the hearing, ask your divorce attorney if they can send him his family members a cease and desist letter, or send it to his divorce attorney. Or if necessary restraining orders. It's terrible you had to deal with, but obviously the husband was never going to stand up for his family. Now he gets to have his mommy as his wife. I'm so sorry you've been going through such a rough time. I was furious for you when I read your husband's post. I think punching your MIL was an automatic response to being struck first, and most of us would have done the same thing. And with that we will move to story 2. For some context and background. My 28F sister, 24F, has been dating her boyfriend, 36M, for 2 years. My brother, 38M, is newly divorced. He was married since he was 18 to his ex-wife, 38F. We don't really know why they divorced. It was sudden, and his ex-wife took their 2 kids and flew back to her hometown. After the divorce was finalized, my brother had to pay her a lot of money. I don't know the details as he's kept it under wraps, but my sister and I found it very weird. My sister's boyfriend is kind known too. He's often in the media for political reasons. He and his organization are very activist-driven. My parents and brother are super conservative and religious, so when they found out who he was, they didn't like him. I'm just gonna call her BFBL to make it easier. My parents decided to have a family dinner and invited all of us. My BIL is respectful and veers away from political discussions because he knows it's just gonna end in an argument. Well, after the dinner was over, my brother and father were at the table discussing women's rights for some reason, while me, my sister, mom and BIL were in the kitchen cleaning up after dinner. Somehow my brother was able to get BIL wrapped up in this debate, and it turned into a full-blown argument. BIL was trying to remain calm while my brother kept spouting that women belong barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen serving their husband and family. BIL disagreed, and it came to the point where my brother was getting frustrated and blurted out, "Come on, like you don't ever think about hitting sister's name occasionally." And BIL replied with, "Christ, no wonder you can't keep a wife or your kids around." This ended the family dinner, and now my parents are fuming. BIL and sister went home, and so did me and my husband. My parents demanded my sister break up with BIL and that he apologize to our brother. However, I've made it very clear I'm on my BIL side. My husband wants to cut contact with my brother. My sister is distraught. BIL doesn't give a heck and probably forgot it's even happened. My mother and father have yelled at me about loyalty and how I'm an awful sister and disappointment of a daughter. I don't know what to do. Relevant comments: Welsh Wicked Witch. Also, your brother deliberately kept needling your BIL to get him to say anything remotely, what they would consider, inflammatory, but I would consider much deserved. So that your parents and brother had justification to jump up and down, frothing at the mouth, reason to demand your sister bins BIL. They want an argument, and it wouldn't matter how perfect BIL was, if it doesn't fit their twisted ideals, then he's out. Now, they use this to harangue your sister, BIL and you. I would urge your sister to be aware of this abuse and control. Do they play these games with you, your husband? I also agree with your husband. Your family, apart from sister, BIL, are all colors of the rainbow wrong. Cut them off. OP's response: to be honest, they don't care my husband and I's relationship. The reason they loathe BIL is because, like I mentioned, he's in the media quite often for things he and his organization are doing. My mom had Googled him, and the first thing that popped up was him just slamming Christianity and conservatives, so ever since then they've been looking for every excuse in the book to get my sister to break up with him. I love him though, he treats my sister well and she's happy, so I can't complain about him. Update a few days later. I know it's soon for an update, but after posting and reading your guys' comments, I did decide to reach out to XSAL last night. I'm not going to go into detail, but a vague summary of there was a lot of sexual and physical abuse throughout their relationship. How she was able to get the kids was my brother signed away his parental rights as long as she didn't out him for the things he had done to her. She admitted she went to my parents a few years ago and they just told her God will lead her through this. My brother has taken to posting on Facebook about how my sister is a gold-digging WH0re and my BIL is a freak of nature sent by Satan himself to ruin his life. Also threatened to send pictures of BIL with our family to news outlets and expose his personal life, and all BIL replied with was, "I already get death threats, so you're just gonna open the door to your family getting those same threats if you do that." To which my brother again posted on Facebook about how God is testing his patience. BIL sent my brother a lengthy text telling him to never come near my sister again and that he's disgusted by how he encouraged him to hit her and all that. My husband also sent him a text saying from here on out he doesn't want my brother near me or our daughter unless he's present because now he worries for our safety. Brother ran to my parents and my parents flew off the handle. They bombarded us with texts and calls about how we're shitty sisters and even shittier daughters, and now we're all uninvited from the Easter party. That's how my morning has been going. I'm exhausted. I'm sure there's gonna be more to unfold and transpire, but that's what's happening for now. Edit. Forgot to add, but my SIL is coming into town to stay with my husband and I so we can see the kids and her. I'm absolutely disgusted with my brother and parents. I will be going low contact and possibly no contact with them soon. Relevant comments. Oh, no. Not the Easter party. Sounds like you might have enough outcasts to have your own Easter party where no one needs to worry about anyone's safety. OP's response, nobody even enjoys the Easter party, it's just a cluster mess every single year. So I'm not too hurt about it. Comment 2. Glad sister is supporting partner. OP clarified sister's actions but leaving comment below for posterity. If I'm reading things correctly, I have issues with your sister here too. From what you've written, what is her role in all of this? Is she saying or doing anything or leaving it all up to her partner to deal with? That's her family treating her partner terribly, and SHE should be just as protective of him as he is of her. She needs to find her spine and deal with her family. You don't subject your partner to the things her partner has had to endure with her family without fighting back with them. I would go, and I have gone, ham, including blasting my brother publicly, since he wants to play that game, and cutting contact, on my family treating my friends and or partner like what I've just read. OP's response, no, I'm sorry I left out a few things because I didn't want it to be lengthy. My sister is very protective of her boyfriend. One of the many reasons my parents don't like him is because they think he's turned her against them because she's so protective. And while they were debating that night, she was trying to get our brother to stop and kept trying to interfere, thus led to his comment of hitting her. My sister used to be very obedient, I guess, but ever since she started dating him she's definitely grown a spine. Update number 2. Okay, before I get into all the drama. I hope you all had a wonderful Easter, cause we absolutely did. It was so much fun. It was me, my husband, sister and BAL, ex-SIL, my daughter and SIL kids. It was drama-free and just a great time. So I'm just gonna break down some of the things that have happened so it's not too lengthy. 1. Mom and Dad called for a welfare check on my sister and claimed BIL was beating her. Police found nothing, so nothing happened. 2. Brother is claiming BIL is a pedo. His proof? My daughter prefers being around BIL instead of him. He made a Facebook post. It was quite wordy, but to break it down, BIL is a creep in brother's eyes for coloring with my daughter and letting her sit on his lap. Whenever my brother would hug my daughter or hold her, she would literally squirm and squeal until he let her go and she'd go sit with BIL or her dad. He just made himself look terrible. 3. Brother left BIL a very disturbing voicemail. I don't want to go into detail in fear of this post being deleted, but he was basically threatening his life and my sister's life too, so the police have gotten involved in that. It's been a bit stressful. There's a bunch of other things that have happened, but those are all the main things. I'll probably make another post. I'm just pooped right now and people have been messaging and asking for an update. Hope you all had a great Easter and wonderful times with your loved ones. Top comments, just read both your postings on this. Your dad sounds unreasonable and your mother seems to be following him like a sheep, blindly. Your brother sounds like he is unraveling. Beware of a person with these leanings, or they can be unpredictable. Glad you were able to gather most of your family together today to enjoy a nice Easter. Hang in there and know that you are right on this matter. So clearly ex-wife left because your brother was a danger to her and the children. Your parents are creeps for protecting him. And that is the end of the story. That's it guys, this is where I will leave you. I hope you enjoyed the stories I had for you. I certainly enjoyed them. Please be sure to drop a like or a comment, and it would mean a lot to me if you subscribe to the channel. Until next time, be kind, be curious, and I will see you. Corner Stories signing off.